Everybody here? Ron? Is Ron still talking to somebody? No? Before we get started, we are going to live stream this event for those people who couldn't get here. But I do want to say on everything. She handled everything together. Thanks for being here for ID Additives' first open house. It means a lot to us that you guys are here. So with that, I will start the presentation if Carolyn's ready to stream. Good. My name's Bryan Whitaker. I'm with ID Additives. We do a full line of purge foaming agents, and our newest product is our EcoPro 3. We started out cleaning surfaces, non-hazardous, eco-friendly, non-toxic. It's a rust preventative as well. And we graduated after cleaning tooling surfaces and platens and things of that nature when a customer called and said, hey, I'm putting your stuff through my pump, and I'm flushing out my cooling passages with it. And his cart was breaking down every 3 to 4 months. And so quantified buying that cart 3 to 4 times a year to use our chemical. So we're like, we'll build you a better cart. One of the key features of this is that it can be filtered and reused, which on the back side of the cart over here. So as long as you filter it out, you can keep reusing the material. It's an air diaphragm pump, so you're not having to run electrical anywhere. This cart puts out 13.5 gallons per minute. The seals, there are no rubber components, so the seals are made out of PTFE, so it won't break down. A recurring cost, that's probably the number one question that I get, is going to be your filter unit. It's a 5-micron filter. Tuscan, Jeff O'Dwyer is here, manufactures it, excuse me. It's powder-coated steel, and he actually uses the EcoPro as a preparation agent for that, if you guys do any powder coating. It works well for welding, also as a prep agent. So today we're going to do a few demonstrations. I'm going to clean up the surface of this mold right here. I also advise a lot of shops when I'm out there to clean the platens as well. That'll help, the rust preventative on it will help prevent that from forming again. Unfortunately, when you do apply it on this surface, you're not going to be able to recapture that material, and I can't stress enough that we want you guys to be able to recapture this material to continue reusing it. So probably the most common sale that we have, people will buy a carton about 15 to 20 gallons of material. That way they can flush, and we'll send spray bottles with proper labeling. That way you can give them a tool shop. What else can I tell you about it? I do need to say thank you to Mike over at R&D Leverage for letting me borrow his tool. Brian at Spartan, Mike at BPC for the heat exchanger that we're also going to flush. I'll be doing 2 at a time. Dan at Avon was instrumental with heat exchangers and helping. Ron at Flambeau, Derek and Jay at Plastics Processors. After we get all this stuff hooked up and start flushing, we have a demonstration area set over there that are some dyes those guys process PVC. If you guys have been around that, all the fumes that kind of rust everything in sight. So you guys will see how quickly that it works on the tooling surfaces over there. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to hook into this. I've got an endoscopic camera, so we can take before and after pictures. I've also got a flow meter. Probably 50% of the shops that I've been into, flow meter. If you don't have one, I'm just getting one. It's a very effective tool for your shop guys. So we'll test the GPM. Now I will say, since I don't have a steady water supply here and it's on an air diaphragm pump, it's going to be pumping, so I'm going to jump about 5 pounds each time. So, but we'll see probably a 20 to 30% increase in flow when we're done. So I'm going to take the circuit here, and when I start hooking everything up, I'll pass that around so everybody can see it. Anybody have any questions so far? Normally when you go to flush, depending upon how bad your lines are. Initial flushing is always going to take the longest. Once you clean it, and I usually recommend each individual circuit at a time. Once you do that, the next time that tool comes out, you can jump the whole mold, and then you're going to average about an hour flush time. I've had as little as 30 minutes flush time on the initial cleaning, and I've had as long as 4 hours. The nice thing about this, you guys in the tool shop can set it up and let it run, walk away, do other stuff. Being that it's non-hazardous, you don't have to worry about, if it spills, not putting on, the rubber gloves, the apron, full get up, all that stuff. If you do happen to spill it, it dilutes with water, and dispose of it according to your local regulations. Likewise, if you get it in your eye, we have labeled it an eye irritant. I wear contacts. I've had it in my eyes. I didn't have to flush my eyes or anything. It just bothered me for about 5 minutes. I've ingested it. Tastes sour. Don't recommend it, but you just drink a bottle of water. You get it in an open wound. It acts similar to the tingling sensation that mineral spirit gets, but it's half of that. So a lot of guys in the shops like that as well, that you don't have to put on, like I said, the full PPE gear.
So what did you do there? Did you stick a camera inside?
I did. So I took 4 pictures of the circuit that I'm going to flush. While I'm hooking this up to measure my GPMs, I'll pass this around so you guys can just cycle through and actually get a visual inspection. But then I'm going to hook up this flow meter so I can measure my GPM. So then when we're done, we actually have some data aside from the visual. So I don't know if I'm going to show that to the people online first while I hook this up. On the back of the pump, this runs off of your shop air. There are 2 nozzles, pump and blow out air. There's a check valve on top, so if one of your guys has it hooked into the blowout side and the valve is set to pump, you're not going to damage the internal components of the pump. It just won't operate. So with that, I need to get this piece. Carolyn was right. We need music. It's very quiet. There's also a filter. Ferrous metal. So a lot of passages are either made out of steel or aluminum. So your non-ferrous metals, aluminum, brass, tin, all of that stuff, you'll flush with water to neutralize the chemical. If you don't, over time, and by time I mean months, it'll eventually start to break down that alloy, which is why it's important to back flush with water, and why we put the bypass in the filter, because the filter obviously fill up with the chemical. Introducing water dilutes the chemical, breaks it down, then you can't reuse it. Return side. Likewise, if you saw anything when you came in as far as purging compounds go, or the Eco Pro, we do have samples to give away. We just need a business card, that way we can track inventory and where it goes. We tried insulating the air compressor, so I apologize if it starts drowning us out. Set the pump. I always recommend turning the air on slow. There are some there are control valves back here, which we added. That way you can slowly increase and introduce air into your system. That way you're not just blowing out lines. Another feature that I add, can you still hear me? And I recommend that a lot of times when you're in a shop, you guys will be like, I need to hook this up to clear out a blocked line. I added in a release valve because if you connect into a blocked line, you don't have a way to release that pressure. We sell the T-valve. You guys probably already have those components in your shop. Shop guys can make that for you as well. But in case you run into a blocked line and you need to back that pressure off, you can get rid of that. So So I'm going to dial this in at 10 pounds, and this is what I was talking about. You can hear that, Bill, you were asking earlier about how we're really going to dial in. That pump doesn't give me that steady flow. Versus at your shop, you're going to be able to control that off of your water supply, I assume. So I don't know if you can see that needle from there kind of jumping a little bit. That's what we're running into. So right now, I'm right at 10 pounds. Give that a couple seconds to stabilize. I'm going to call it 230. Turn my supply to get the water out. Swap my air over to my blowout side. The check valve, and then we'll blow all the water through. Then I'll hook up the chemical to both this and the heat exchanger. Is Brian Dern here? If you would like to scope out the heat exchanger, I don't know where the endoscopic camera went. Oh, you still have it? Did you not pass it around? Oh, okay. So while I hook up the chemical and start flushing, if you would like to scope out the heat exchanger, there's copper lines on the inside, and you guys can see the pictures of that. Both carts run, at which point we'll end the live stream. You guys can come up, check out the cart, ask questions while the chemical is running. And then also during the time, we can go over to check out the PVC dies and can ask any questions. So while he's doing that, I'm going to swap over.
How long does that normally take, Lenny?
On initial clean, it varies. I mean, I've had passages before that'll take me 3 hours, sometimes 4, but on average 1 hour. I'm going to flush these. Based on the pictures that I saw, I'm going to flush it for 1.5 hours. That gives us a little bit over the standard hour, but these also, the cooling passages are, yeah, I mean, I've seen some that have a 32nd to a 64th. This is kind of in between there. So just experience tells me I could flush for 1 hour, but I'm not going to get everything off of those lines, and I obviously want you guys to be able to see that. And for anybody that can't stay the entire duration, obviously we're going to post the video back up online. I'll post the data as well from what we flushed. But my main concern is that you understand how the cart operates, the principles of it. You guys can keep reusing.
As far as are you adjusting that?
No, so I am increasing the air that goes to 100 psi. So if your shop's running 120, it's going to regulate from the pump itself.
Adjust that, what it's going to run.
I mean, most shops that I've been in, 100 pounds is average. I've been in a that are 120, some lower on the 80 side. Ideally, you'd be at 90 to 100 pounds. And you'll see when I turn this on, I didn't open it up all just because we're flushing water and I wanted to get an accurate read on my flow meter, but I only had maybe a quarter of the way. So, and you'll notice when I turn it on, if it goes fast, it'll kind of start making noise that allows you, and that way you're playing at shops that they walk, hear this, you know, it's annoying. I have an adapter, and just for today's demonstration, since I have to keep swapping the line and whatnot, it's not on there. So I'm just gonna put my flow meter off here. Did you take pictures of the line on the side, or both of them?
Yeah, I can't quite see just the entrance right here, but I couldn't get all the way into some of the copper lines because of this fitting.
That's okay.
But you got good pictures from in here.
Right, that's why we left that one.
Yeah.
If you want to pass that around and start hooking that up, I'm going to set this pump. What's going to happen into that quite a bit is the pump itself is going to sense that pressure. To sit up. I've had 100% blockages as well. I'll do a demo, put it up, just go to lunch. Sometimes it takes a half hour to break through. Sometimes it take a couple. Again, that's why I added this release, because another tactic that I've used to release the pressure, I'll swap my entry and exit side, hit it from the other side. Eventually, I'll eat through that block. But once you start getting a little bit of flow, that's when our breaking up a little bit. The thing is that we're drill things up, rod exchanger, things of that nature. We want to make sure you're hooking up and walking away and doing some other things. So preventative maintenance has been a pretty big highlight and push this year, from what I've heard in shops, read online, done webinars on things of that nature, but nobody's really doing anything about it. And a lot of times if you talk to you guys in the tool room, they don't have a pumping system, or it's a paperweight, in the back of the room, because it's those hazardous caustic chemicals. I don't want to put on all the aprons and the gears and then have it run for 6, 8, 10 hours. This is an effective solution that allows you to do some other things. You have to, tell second shift, by the way, that's going to be done in 3. It can be done on the same shift. You can hook up to multiple things. You can clean an entire mold and not have to worry about, spills, things of that nature. And the guys that use the system, you'll start to hear the pump in the background, like if there is that true blockage, and you'll start to hear the thing kind of slow away, and then you go, okay, now I know I have a blockage. And come over and shut off the air when I get a chance. Can you plug in that exit side over there? That one, the adapter is to the left on the pallet. That needs to go in first. So along with the cart comes this 20-gallon barrel, as well. It comes fully assembled. That way you guys don't have to do anything out of the box. Comes adapters, 1/2 inch all the way up to 1.5 inches, I believe. So you can pretty much adapt to anything. And I didn't check my filter. So the bypass talking about to run water is right here. And all you do is turn. Comes with a wrench so you can change your filter out. It's pretty common. So that's pretty much that. I'll open up full bore, that way you guys can hear what it sounds like. There's that annoying little knack that you hear. So I'm just going to turn that down because we don't have to be as aggressive with this cooling passage. Let me show you how to clean this. If you guys grab samples on your way home, you'll be getting a brush as well. We do sell it in a spray bottle form, but most of you guys in the shop are used to aerosols. They're gonna go hog wild and they're gonna run through this bottle in no time. The goal with the brush is to show you how effective it is using as little as possible. I always do a test area first, and I let it sit on there for 30 to 45 seconds and increase my time from there. You can see I'm not putting a lot of effort into that. You want to be sure that you wipe it dry. So there's my 30-second test, and I can see I've got a little underlying staining, excuse me. So from there, I would just increase to a minute, maybe 2 minutes. If you leave it set on too long, which I can demonstrate on the dies over there, it's going to turn a chalk white. Remember one complaint that I get. Guys call me, they're like, my whole mold's white. What did I do? Oh, you sprayed it on and walked away, didn't you? Yeah, so it works very quickly. In that instance, again, water breaks it down, so you have two options. You can reapply the EcoPro just to clean that coating back off, or you can just take a warm, damp cloth and wipe it off that way. Likewise, if you were to spill it on the floor, it's going to turn that same chalk white, which I actually like because then you know where you need to clean up your spill. Good over here.
Teflon tape. I don't want to leak forever.
What else can I tell you? My ball valve is leaking. So since we've done heat exchangers and cooling passages, we've had a couple guys in extrusion. I don't know if there's any guys in extrusion here. Ask about chill rolls, which is where the new cart comes into play. We have not yet done a press release on this. But this is our EcoPro XL. This pump handles 28.5 gallons per minute, and that's meant for some larger stuff. You got 1-inch lines versus 1/2 inch. Obviously a much larger filter. We kept the back of the cabinet off just so you can see the internal components. But we've seen some pretty good success with that on extrusion rolls. One that I did 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. This was their filter after 3.5 hours of flushing, so there was quite a bit in those. We did that out of sheer cost for this gentleman. He was spending 8 hours pulling his chill roll off. He'd have to ship it away over to North Carolina, where they'd hold on to it for 2 to 3 months and flush it and do everything, refurb it. It'd ship back another 8 to 10 man hours putting it back on. So he's lost all that production. So now he just puts in a T valve into his lines. Once every 8 months, he just flushes out in line. He's not spending the 8 to 10 hours each time hooking it up, dismantling it and all that, and not even having to wait on getting it back. So that's why we did that. Operates the same. That handles up to a 55-gallon drum. This cart handles the weight up to 30 gallons. I think that's it. Does anybody have questions? I mean, this is going to be the time after questions that I'll invite you up, kind of check things out, ask questions up close. But does anybody have anything off the top of their head at this moment? No? Cool. Well, thank you guys again. I'm Brian. Ron is our foaming agent master. Been foaming parts since the 80s, so we've got some interesting stuff set up down there, as well as all of our purging compounds. I encourage you to find anybody with an ID Additives shirt on to start talking with them, ask questions. That's what we're here for today. I don't think I thanked Dan over at Accurate Color earlier. Whoops. But he's going to be providing lunch. That'll be in here. He does very well on the smoker. So, again, I encourage you to ask questions to anybody in a shirt. And I thank everybody for being here.